So the division algorithm gives us a way to write our dividend in terms of the quotient and remainder. So if I have whole numbers a and b, where b is not 0, then there exist unique whole numbers q, called the quotient, and r, called the remainder, such that we can write a equal to b times q plus r, where our remainder r is strictly less than b and greater than or equal to 0. When a is divided by b and we get a remainder of 0, we say that a is divisible by b, or that b is a divisor of a, or that just b divides a. Okay, you should be familiar with all of that language. We'll use that language especially in the next chapter. So let's look at an example. If 123 is divided by a number and the remainder is 13, what are the possible divisors? So let's use the division algorithm here. If 123 is divided by some number b, then from the division algorithm, we can write 123 equal to b times the quotient plus the remainder. Here our remainder is 13. And in particular, our divisor here, b, has to be greater than 13 because we know our remainder is strictly less than the divisor. Okay, so let's subtract 13 from both sides. What happens when I subtract? I get b times q equals 110. So b must be a factor of 110. So we're looking for two numbers whose product is 110, where one number is greater than 13. So let's think about what two numbers I could multiply to get 110. Well, 1 times 110 is 110. 110 is also divisible by 2. 2 times 55 is equal to 110. It's also divisible by 5. 5 times 22 is equal to 110. And it's also divisible by 10. 10 times 11 equals 110. And these are all the pairs of numbers that would give me a product of 110. So remember, we're looking for a pair where one of the numbers is greater than 13. So in particular, this last pair is not going to work, right? 10 and 11. Okay, so 110, 55, and 22 are the only possible values for b because each of those is greater than 13. Okay. All right, one of the important things that students need to recognize is the inverse operations of multiplication and division, and the inverse relationship between addition and subtraction. So here's just a picture of that. So remember, subtraction sort of undoes addition, and same idea, multiplication and division are inverse operations. And how are addition and multiplication related? They're related by repeated addition, whereas division and subtraction are related by repeated subtraction. So this is the picture you should have in your head. Let's talk about dividing by 0. So I want to use the definition of division to find these values. Again, this is very important, and I'm going to test you over this this semester. So let's think about 3 divided by 0. What would that mean? Well, by definition, 3 divided by 0 equals some value c if and only if c is the unique number satisfying 0 times c equals 3. All right, but what do I know if I multiply anything times 0? That's one of our multiplication properties. Anything times 0 is 0. So since there is no whole number that satisfies this equation, and by this equation I mean 0 times c equals 3, we can conclude that 3 divided by 0 is undefined. What about 0 divided by 3? Whoops. Well, let's go through the same process. So 0 divided by 3 equals c if and only if C is the unique number such that C times 3, or 3 times C, you can write it either way, equals 0. Well, is there a unique whole number that satisfies this equation? Sure, 0, right? If I multiply, since 0 times 3 equals 0, we can conclude that 0 divided by 3 is equal to 0. All right, our last one is 0 divided by 0. Let me erase so that I have room down here. Again, let's use the definition. 0 divided by 0 equals C means that C is the unique whole number such that 0 times C equals 0. Well, we just talked about how 0 times any whole number is 0. So can I find a unique value for C? No, because any value of C that I plug into this equation is going to satisfy that equation. So, but 0 times C equals 0 for any whole number C. So there is no unique value for C that satisfies the equation. Hence, 0 divided by 0 is also undefined. Now, the reason that this one is undefined is different than the reason that part A was undefined, okay? So in part C, what failed was the uniqueness. In part A, what failed was the solution to the equation, okay? There was no value C. All right, make sure that you can repeat this on your own. In general, if we have any non-zero whole number n, then n divided by 0 is undefined. 0 divided by n is 0. 0 divided by 0 is undefined. And n divided by 1 is n.